From the twisted realm of science and the darkest pits of reason comes chilling tales of godlessness. Bear witness to the unfathomable terror that is the Good Atheist.
Something works out for them, they're like, it's the secret.
Selective memory, actually. You're right.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
it happens all the time. I think in general, when you look at people who are saying like, oh, I thought about this and it came true. I mean, people think about a lot of stuff. I don't think individuals really realize how much thinking they do in a day. It just turns out that most of the thinking you're doing is just fantasizing about what could happen or what might happen, without any real regard to how you will make it happen. You're just sort of saying, wow, I wonder what it would be like if I was rich, or if I was going out with that girl that I really want to go out with, and all these other kinds of stuff. And you're just like, why don't you just ask her out? Why don't you steal money? You can be rich that way.
Is this some kind of weird, like, pseudo message under the whatever?
No, I'm not setting any message clearer than just saying, like, if you're gonna do a lot of fantasizing, it's probably good to also fantasize about how you can get her done. I mean, you just might as well. I mean, you're already dreaming.
Oh, okay. You're talking about in relation to The Secret and how, like, basically you should work on instead of just waiting for the laws of attraction to help you out, you should just try and figure out how to do it for yourself.
I think in general, it goes for everything. Like, look, let's imagine that a person was thinking like, wow, I really want to become a writer, or I really want to become a scientist, or that kind of stuff. And then all the time they'll fantasize about that. They'll be like, whoa, I wonder what my life would be like if I was a scientist, la-di-da. But I'm saying, well, devote some of your time to fantasizing about how you can make it work. I think that's the most logical way to go about fantasizing. It might not happen, but at least you had some kind of a pseudo plan, right?
Mm.
Anyways, here's what I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to talk about the patron system that we have offered on the Good Atheist.
This is going to be like an infomercial.
No, it's not an infomercial, because it's how it relates to religion in general. Mm. And basically what I want to say is that, look, I've realized one thing. I am a proselytizer, okay? Like, let's not beat around the bush. I mean, the whole reason the Good Atheist exists is to proselytize about atheism, right? Mm. I mean, I'm not selling you cookies or anything else like that. I'm just trying to shove atheism down your goddamn throats.
Or, according to some people, non-theism.
I suppose
that's the big battle right now, is that everybody's talking about non-theism, and they're like, oh, you're not an atheist, you're not theist, and it's just a general thing across the board, where as soon as an atheist starts talking about their beliefs, they're labeled non-theists.
Yeah, it's true, because the whole thing is, religious people liked atheists when they shut the hell up, but now that we're becoming more active, and it's every other day I'm reading an article from some major newspaper or magazine or website that's saying atheism is on the rise. They're all sending out these pulses, these messages saying, here are these groups. They're becoming organized. They're no longer just sitting at home saying, I don't believe in God. They're trying to do stuff, trying to participate in the community, or, like cleaning up garbage. Fuck, all kinds of things.
People are fed up. That's the basic truth of it, is that these are people who obviously wouldn't say anything otherwise, but everyone say, oh, you're non-theist, you don't want religion to exist. I just want them to stop controlling rationality and, different rules for these people with their sky gods. And it's
just controlling the world. I mean, I don't know if I mentioned this to you the other day, but Ireland did pass that blasphemy law. Remember?
I had no doubt.
I mean, the whole thing about the blasphemy law is there was already a blasphemy law that was in place. It's just that the blasphemy law was jailing people, and all of a sudden no one wanted to use it because no one wanted to go in jail. So they figured, well, let's amend it so that it's going to charge people money instead, because
I hate that, man.
Isn't that more? That's even more doggish. That's even more doggish. Like, I mean, the jail thing is just ridiculous, and no one's going to go to jail. But they figure, yeah, you could still see.
It's like, okay, we can't get away with putting people in jail anymore over this, but we can fine them. What is it, $20,000?
£25,000.
Pounds, jeez. It's like $65,000.
And I think here's the great irony here. The great irony here is that this is just in the wake of the Ryan report and in this other report that's also supposed to come out at the end of the summer about clerical abuse in the archdiocese and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, who's not going to want to talk smack about religion, saying like, fuck you and the fucker who molested my uncle.
We need somebody in Ireland to actually take that law on straightforward. You know what I mean?
They keep saying that the reason they don't is because they don't want to have a referendum on the issue. It's going to be too expensive to get rid of. But I'm like,
well, I'm not talking about it like a politician. I'm saying that there needs to be somebody
somebody
in Ireland that challenges it, that basically puts out an article that says the church can lick my chode.
That's daring. They should do it. You're right. Mm-hmm. Somebody rich, too, that doesn't care. Because asking that of a poor person is a mistake.
No, I agree. I mean, you obviously would get funding, but it could be an organization or a celebrity or something like this. Somebody has to push it through and deal with it. It's like, I know we were just talking about Sarah Palin a bit earlier about her horrible poetry, which we won't get into.
No,
but,
we will not get into that. It is quite horrible, though.
Back when she was talking about suing everybody because she was retiring from, or quitting her job and fucking off, she was threatening to sue anybody that was telling lies about her and spreading mistruths. So Andrew Sullivan, every single day for 2 weeks, it was quite annoying, actually. He wrote nothing but posts calling her a liar and basically challenging her to sue him. And
that does sound a little bit annoying.
But well, I mean, it's just annoying because I never like reading about Sarah Palin. But the point of the matter is, he specifically went out there to try and goad her. She obviously backed down and knew that this obviously wouldn't be a good idea. So it would just be interesting to see somebody with a bit of clout go out there and really put it in everybody's faces that this law exists and it's ridiculous.
I think that what they would do is they'd be smart about it, and the law doesn't force you to charge anyone for blasphemy, and really they don't even have an understanding of what blasphemy is supposed to be. Like they're just like, well, we'll know it when it happens.
Yeah, I love those nebulous laws that somehow make it into power. It's like, wow.
It's very thoughtful. But I want to talk about something a little bit more hardcore than just the blasphemy law, which I consider to be more embarrassing than bad. You I really consider bad is the plight of child, quote unquote, witches in Nigeria. Now, for any of you guys that are new to the podcast or don't read the site, I've talked about this quite a bit. Basically, in Nigeria, there are, I think because of the AIDS epidemic, almost 1 million orphan children. And many times when you're an orphan, really what will happen is that your parents will die or one of your parents dies and you go live with another family member. But you have to imagine that over there, everyone's really taxed, in terms of how many resources they have to share and that kind of stuff. And sometimes, people may be looking for an excuse to get rid of a family member or that kind of stuff. Or maybe they're just struggling because poverty is a daily thing over there. And there is a movement, basically a lot of priests, Christian priests, native Christian priests, that basically make a lot of money by claiming that a person who, a family that suffers from financial problems or cattle that have died and that kind of stuff, and they say, well, it's because you have a child witch. And what happens is that these kids either get killed or they get abandoned and tortured and beaten and that kind of stuff. I mean, essentially, it's if you're disobedient. Like, that's the first sign of what a child witch might be like. If your child is excessively disobedient, he may be a child witch. And there's this one woman in particular who is like probably one of the most influential figures when it comes to this whole child witch controversy. Her name is Helen Ukpabio, and she's basically a minister in Nigeria. She has a congregation, I think, of over 50,000 people, and she produces movies. Propaganda movies about child witches because, they charge for that shit. Exorcism of kids and that kind of stuff. I mean, that's something that it's big dollars over there, man. It's big fucking dollars. And her movies are apparently so horrible and graphic that even the Nigerian Film Board has tried, it has censored it, but the problem is the film board is insanely corrupt and impotent, and they can't stop these movies from being distributed. And people watch this and they think that this is real.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that people in Nigeria have a hard time stopping pretty much anything.
Yeah, pretty much anything that goes down. You could be burning a bunch of people that you suspect is penis thieves, and you're not going to go to jail.
Yeah, this is the funny thing about all of this is that you read that penis thief thing on the internet or on the newspaper, like a quirky Sunday article, and
people have died.
People have been dying about that, and it's the lighter side of the whole child witchcraft and all the other hysteria that's going on over there. And here's the funny thing is, it's not all of it's funny. I have to say it's all funny, but
funny in kind of a clown dying funny kind of way.
It's look at how it's these Christian religions, but all it
is they're hybridizations.
Exactly.
They hybridize their own native rituals of sorcery and that kind of stuff in Christianity. But here's the weird thing, and this is what I wanted to talk about. Actually, no, this is what I'm going to get to later. The first thing that I wanted to say about her in general is that look at this. This woman has a tremendous amount of power, and she has a lot of voices that listen to her. And it turns out that if you look at, why is the problem of witches and all these children being tortured, why is it such a problem? Why is it so endemic? And the reason has to do with, number one, their own rituals and its incompatibility with Christianity. Now, if I was to ask you, how incompatible do you think Christianity is with sorcery and witchcraft in general? Like, how incompatible do you think it is? Do you think they mentioned it a little bit in the Bible? Do you think it's mentioned a lot? Or how do you figure that Christians, mainstream Christians, deal with sorcery?
By not going and seeing Harry Potter.
Well, I guess that's how they deal with it over here, and saying that you shouldn't play Dungeons and Dragons and those kinds of things.
I got to send that joke to Jimmy Fallon. It'll make it on NBC or whatever.
It's bad enough to make it to that show.
Yes.
Yeah, it's that terrible. But I wanted to do a little research. So today I took a look how many passages in the Bible make a reference specifically to witchcraft, and if it does, what do they say you should do with witches? Because most of the Old Testament is just a fucking rule book. You don't. You're not supposed to sleep with your stepdaughter. You're not supposed to, fornicate, or women are supposed to go to church on certain days.
Yeah.
And it's not. Hey, it's a rule book, all right? It's most of it. So I decided to take a look. I thought it was just going to be kind of a couple isolated passages. No, let me assure you, it is everywhere in the Bible. I mean, let me start with. You got a bunch of different places in Leviticus that tell you that you are not to practice it. Then you got Deuteronomy that says that anyone practices a sorcerer or that kind of stuff should be put to death. You have Samuel's that sort of like tells the story of a witch who essentially gets sort of called out, and I believe she's killed. There is Kings and Chronicles. These are also things about how the Lord will be angered from anyone that practices sorcery or witchcraft. Wisdom, Galatians, and in Revelation as well, it's mentioned extensively. So there is a serious trend in the Bible that says basically you need to kill all witches, anyone that uses astrology, any of these things. These are evil. God hates it. A sorcerer is automatically going to hell because he's a tool of Satan. I mean, there's a serious fear campaign. So let's contrast that to thousands and thousands of years of a shaman-like society. What do you think is going to fucking happen?
Violence.
It's a recipe for disaster. I mean, there is no way that these two things are compatible. I mean, look, I'm not saying that witchcraft and sorcery is a good tradition to hold on to, but you can easily see how some people would continue it. And let's not pretend that there is zero value in any of those old shaman-like religions. I mean, these guys were the first doctors, so a lot of people probably go to see them whenever they have ailments and that kind of stuff. So there's a pervasive sorcerer-like culture. And that's seriously contrasted with individuals that are very literalistic about the Bible. These people will take it at its word. If the Old Testament says it, we do it. No discussion. There's no code of ethics that says, hey, this is an allegory. You're like, what allegory? God said, kill all sorcerers. And
that's what we should be talking about next time somebody brings up, some of those ridiculous literal tracts where it's like, he also said, kill soul sorcerers.
I'm like, you have to kill your astrologer.
Oh, God, no,
just
kill everybody writing horoscopes. Please. Please. I would love it if
stop shooting abortion doctors. Could you shoot a bit of the fucking whack jobs out there, too? I mean, take some of those motherfuckers out. This is the message.
You know what we have to do? Maybe start pointing amongst them. You're a witch. Get that whole witch trial thing set back up.
You want to go back to those Puritan days?
No, I just want to push them back. You know what I mean?
Well, it makes me think about how early pilgrims in the United States, if you look at kind of the violent interpretation of the religion, the Salem witch trials and those kinds of things, that carried on the tradition of the Inquisition over with them. Yeah. But you also have to imagine, like, they were. I think the resulting. I think they furthered a culture of very conservative religion because they must have felt like they were in the land of Satan. You know what I mean? Like if you believe in witchcraft and that kind of stuff. I mean, their Indian shamans must have scared the shit out of them.
And with the endless dark forests full of strange creatures
and noises. Don't forget the noises. I mean, did you never watch? What's the name of that story with Ichabod Cranes, where like the headless?
Not Sleepy Hollow, but the Headless Horseman.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that must have seemed like some real shit.
What's the story with that headless horseman guy?
I thought it was called Sleepy Hollow.
No, Sleepy Hollow is just is the name of the town, and it's just that's what Tim Burton used to, instead of fucking calling it something stupid like The Ballad of the Headless Horseman or The Ridiculous Tale of Sweeney Todd. Oops.
Yeah, you're
fucked
right.
that one up.
You're right. It is a ridiculous name. Anyways, I mean that shit must have seemed like some real a real possibility. You know,
it's just fucking funny to see how. You know, we laugh about this whole witchcraft thing. We think it's hilarious, but just a couple years ago. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I have
you have a dark sense of humor. We accept that. I accept that. I have that dark sense of humor. I just have to have a decorum that I don't laugh about this privately, and just how insanely stupid human behavior can be. I guess it's better to laugh than to just fucking sit depressed in your basement.
Yeah, but we were doing this a couple hundred years ago in America. It's not that old of a tradition.
It really is not.
It's like when was the last person burned to death in America for being a witch? Probably like 1812 or something like that.
I think it's funny too that most Christians themselves, I don't think they realize the kind of world that they were living in. Say 100 years ago. Okay, 100 years ago, slavery is done for, but most people think that it should come back.
You're still
kind of a thing.
Spraying people with fire hoses.
Yeah, you're spraying people with fire hoses. I mean, like when did the Emancipation Proclamation occur? Like pretty damn late on, if I recall. This is after the Civil War. So when was the Civil War? Do you remember?
Don't ask.
It's after 1812 or something like that.
Anyways,
these factual claims. But the point is, I mean, the Bible and all this other kind of stuff is being used to justify slavery and witches are being persecuted and that kind of stuff. I mean, this is not that long ago. We think it is because our lifespans are very, very short. But really, in the lifespan of civilization, I mean, this whole not enslaving people, not burning people at stakes and that kind of stuff is fucking recent, okay? It is really recent. So if you're out there and you're like, Christianity, religion of peace, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, no. Historically, no. Historically, that's a historical fail, right?
But that's the whole thing. Is going way back to talking about what's going on down here. Is that it's just it's just the belief in superstitious belief in unreal things. And you could pin that on religion overall in general, but it's just that these people don't understand the realities of the world. That's
for them, superstitions are explanations. Superstitions are only superstition when you know that they're untrue. For any pattern-seeking animals, like all pattern-seeking animals, develop superstitions. I mean, they're the Miller experiments. I forget. Anyways, on pigeons, where basically what they did was they were randomly feeding pigeons these pellets. And whatever the pigeon was doing at the time, it would start attributing to why the pellet was dropping. So sometimes you'd have birds doing weird dances, circling, jumping up and down, thinking that this is what was making it eat food. So even a fucking pigeon can have a superstition, okay? If you think a superstition is unique to human beings, no. It is not unique to human beings. You're a pattern-seeking animal, and you will seek the simplest explanation. And what is the simplest explanation to someone?
I was dancing and it started raining.
I was dancing and it started fucking raining. Or
I remembered those dance steps.
Exactly. Or I chanted something over a person's stomach and they felt better. All kinds of things.
Those were the right words.
They were the right words. And when you look back at it, you're not going to take a really skeptical approach all that much because for you, anecdotal evidence is evidence. You're just like, it's good. Like a neighbor of yours comes over and he says, I just saw this, and he has confirmation from another person. We have confirmation. It is 100% true. And you just realize that over time we've become a lot better at being skeptical. And we've refined that. I mean, this is in the past few hundred years, this is what we've refined. We've refined the way that we gather information. We've defined new margins of errors that we didn't have before.
It was a total hack. We hacked our brain into basically giving us more complex thought patterns.
Exactly. We discovered that pattern seeking is a great thing, but it has to be used at the right ends. And when you have so many false positives, You know, like anytime you have something that will be, you can have false negatives and false positives, and superstitions are examples of false positives, where you make an incorrect assumption because that you didn't have the available data.
A perfect example is my mom with her laptop saying, "Oh, Jake, check this out. When we were looking for your computer, we couldn't find anything, but then when I was looking, the first flyer I opened, it's right there, and that's the secret." It's like that was the pattern that she saw there. I believed, and he's an unbeliever.
And that somehow that was going to be proof enough that I would accept that, saying, "Oh, you have a story how that worked?" Well,
she just had to put it out there because she's a
I mean,
lady.
obviously, I'm not saying your mom in general. I'm just saying that this is a common phenomenon when a person is trying to explain to you, something that's just not real. They will use an example in their own lives because you can't use anything else. It's not real. You don't have any evidence. What you consider to be evidence is just, I saw it. Oh, okay, all right. I guess that's good. I mean, you see all kinds of weird things. Have you never done any drugs? If you do drugs, then you understand just that the whole "I saw this." No, you don't really trust that anymore. You have a provisional trust. You realize that this fucking brain of yours is a liar.
Yep, all those bugs all around the room, they're not really there.
They're not under your skin.
That voice telling you to kill people who write horoscopes, well, that's us.
Yeah.
But if you hear us when you're not listening to us,
that's not right.
But I do hope you'd be a patron if you were doing that.
Actually, you know what? That
leads us back.
That leads us back to what I wanted to originate from this whole conversation, which was about the patron system. So here comes the ads, everybody.
Here comes the cell. This is how we tie it in.
Fucking cell, and the cell's basically this. Like I've been thinking a lot about, when I read that story about Helen Ukabia. I don't even want to say her name anymore because she sucks. Anyways, Helen the bitch. Let's just call her the bitch. So when I realized, she's got 50,000 congregants. She sells DVDs all over all over her country, and they're huge, even in other countries as well. She is very wealthy, and she tricks people out of money. She takes money from very, very poor people. Okay, these people can't afford a tithe. It's like, no, they live on $1, a month. These people are lucky, but still they save up and they give it to individuals like that. And what she does is she proselytizes, and I am positive she believes what she's talking about, because how could you even live with yourself if you didn't? If you were responsible for the death of so many children because you were promulgating a false idea, like she believes it, and for her it's the truth, and she has her own patrons. Now, we do what we do because we want to fight that. And I don't know if fighting it, the best way to do it is recording a podcast. That is something I can do, though. I have a fucking golden voice. I'm going to fucking use it.
Oh, actually, as a quick side note to that, we'll make it really quick. I was thinking how else we could express our atheism, and I was starting to think about doing some stencil graffiti. Some really good stencil graffiti around town, and I'm like, we'll look into it, and we'll post up on the site, and we'll keep you updated on it.
It'd be cool that we made outlines for people to make their own stencil graffiti. So
exactly,
go
that's
out
what
there
I mean. If we're gonna do something, then other people can do it as well, and we can do some funny ones involving Jesus and God. It's like, is your God angry at you? We can help atheists.
We'll come up with some good ideas. No, that's great. And
that was pretty good for off the cuff, actually.
That was off the cuff. But let me just complete the thought here, because I was on a good roll here. Yeah. And the thought is basically that we do what we do, and we've quit both our jobs to do this and our Fight Link for project. And what we ask from people is saying, like, look, we're proselytizers, either of a sport or of atheism, and this is what we do now, and we need your help. Look, the other individuals that lie to people, that take them for fools, that rip off people, they're living very comfortably. They're driving nice cars and that kind of stuff. I don't even need that. I just want to pay my rent. I just want to have a reasonable amount of money. And this is why we were asking for $20 a year, because we're like, I believe that $1.67 a month for hours of radio entertainment is not asking that much. And the other thing I want to say to you guys that are listening to it is that the part of the problem is do you remember in New York in the 1980s there was a young woman who was murdered in an alley, and there were dozens of witnesses, but no one had told the police?
I was nowhere near New York.
Well, all right, yeah, okay. Hey-o. Anyways, there was they actually conducted a study about this, because this was. People thought this must have been because of some kind of crazy callousness from city dwellers and that kind of stuff. And it just turns out that it was because when responsibility is diffused among the many, no one acts. Like, people were like, someone's going to call the police. Someone else is going to call the police. But no, there was no one that called the fucking police. So our inaction was caused by the fact that there were just so many present. If there was only one witness, you know, they would have immediately called the police. And we see this all the time. And I'm like, you may have that feeling yourself as a person who's listening to the radio show saying, well, other people are going to do it.
And trust me, we feel the same way about a whole bunch of stuff that we love too.
We do. We do feel that way. And it's something that I've come to appreciate, and definitely I want to correct that myself as well. But I'm not in any financial position to do so. Yeah. It's only when you're financially destitute and realize how much you survive basically on the charity of other people is when you kind of realize how much you yourself gain from the hard work of other individuals. And I mean, putting together a show is a lot of hours of me reading or me and Ryan having discussions about stuff, so we flesh out ideas.
It never stops. He never stops.
It really never stops. I mean, Ryan has to put up with a lot of being a sounding board for most of the shit that I fucking talk about. Because we hit record when we play. There is no, major post-production thing. It's just like, okay, let's press record. Let's have a conversation. And then we just go. But that requires many other conversations that themselves were not brilliant or didn't fucking go anywhere.
Yeah, if you think I'm bad now.
So basically the point is that I'm asking you right now, the person that's listening, if you really enjoy the show, then please become a patron, because this is what we need to do to survive. This is what we need to do to keep making these shows. And I love doing this, guys. Do not get me wrong. I want to keep doing this for the rest of my life if I can. Fuck yeah. I'm like, of course I'm going to talk about religion my whole life. At least I have an outlet, and I would like to have this outlet be, the way that the way that it is now, where I can put a lot of time and effort into it to make it sound, the way that I want it to sound, and we require your help for that. So if you want to go to the site www.thegoodatheist.net and go to the membership section, that's right at the top, and please donate. We need your help.
And the good thing is you get all those other radio shows. What are we up to, like 12, 15?
There's roughly 7.5 hours of bonus already recorded bonus podcasts that you will have instant access to. And then that's on top of the 52 other bonus shows that you will get in the span of a year. There's 52 weeks in a year, and you get one bonus show a week. Do the math. I mean, maybe we'll take 1 or 2 of those weeks off. I mean, come on now. Every week.
No, we're slaves.
Slaves! We are slaves! Well, we need more money to be more enslaved, because eventually, if it's not enough,
we have to start being responsible so our
adults
parents don't think we're failures.
Yeah. I have a declining credit margin that will need to be paid eventually. But I actually think, and this is what I think the general future of the internet is, I think that these kind of models work. They require individuals to kind of step outside of their own comfort zone and say, yeah, I'm used to not paying for content. I'll turn on the TV and in return all I have to do is put up with ads. But the reality is that's not. I don't think that's how we want to distribute everything. Do we really want to?
And the problem is, all of a sudden, you only have shows on or content that fits the ads. And we felt this for both of our websites, is that if you were producing something that does not fit in with
the guidelines,
and you'd be surprised that all of the major sites that you think are subversive that aren't, they are following very strict guidelines, because if they swear too much or they make any vile jokes or if they talk about religion in such a way that Pizza Hut is going to be like, no way in hell, you ain't getting into any of those networks.
Yeah.
So
it's a meager existence for you if you want to try to say what you really think. And I mean, that's the whole. I think that's the appeal of the show. I think that's what people like. They're like, you will just say what's on your fucking mind, and I don't fucking give a shit what anyone else thinks. This is what I think. Raw, uncut. That's why I fucking say that. Raw, uncut. Well, actually, there is one.
Ryan and Jake in the morning, atheism.
Technically, on this one show, there will be a cut, because I did get a phone call in the midst of recording this show.
Oh, like as far as just like it's off the cut.
Because it's not necessarily uncut. But fuck, we could be recording this shit live. God damn it, it'd be so easy, and I'd love to do it. If we had the technical capabilities and we had like the audience, oh, you bet your goddamn ass I'd do it. It's like, how sweet would that be? Boom. But that's all stuff like
In the future.
That's in the future, and that's something that, we require your patronage to make that happen. Okay, well that's enough for all of you guys listening to this long ass ad in my tirade, and we'll catch everybody probably actually tomorrow for the bonus show for those who are patrons, because this show was a bit late. Ryan was in Ottawa.
Get my freak on.
Get his fucking freak on. Nice.
Wow.
Nice. He has a smirk. The smirk has returned, folks. Mm-hmm. Before, where there was a scowl, now there was a smirk.
Yeah, my little upsie was little downsy.
It was pretty downsy, dude. Little downsy. Damn, I was staying away from you in the mornings.
Oh, dude, let me tell you what. I was feeling like some blue balls, like not being able to fall asleep because I'm just like,